Good morning, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Radim Žák. I am the Regional Coordinator for Eastern Europe and Central Asia at the International Center for Migration Policy Development. It is the 16th of April 2020, shortly after 10:30 in the morning Vienna time. And on behalf of the Prague Process Secretariat at ICMPD, I have the pleasure to welcome you to the first Prague Process webinar. To what I could see, we have reached over 100 attendees from all over the Prague Process region and from international organizations, which interest we highly appreciate in these challenging times of the COVID-19 pandemics, which strongly affects all Prague Process countries and the whole world actually. As communicated on the 6th of April by Mr. Tautvydas Tamulevičius, the Vice Minister of Interior of the Republic of Lithuania, the chair of the strategic group of the Prague Process, we have applied contingency measures to react to this exceptional situation. Instead of face-to-face meetings, we have moved to remote events, where similar to us, many of you connect and work from home. We have adjusted the work plan for this year and start with a set of webinars. This being the first one today, one foreseen for May and another one foreseen for June. This focus brings us closer to the policy briefs and analytical reports developed and published under the Migration Observatory, as well as to the intended distant e-learning foreseen under the Training Academy. We hope that the second half of the year will bring us closer to the normal. However, one can expect that this might be a different normal than before. The title of the webinar today is The Possible Impact of COVID-19 on the EU's Demand for High-Skilled Migrants. And we will listen to Mr. Glenn Hodgson, the founder and CEO of the independent think tank Free Trade Europa. Before we start, I would like to introduce my colleagues from the Prague Process team and thank them for organizing this webinar. It is Mr. Alexander Malejev, the project manager, Irina Lusak, the project officer, and Ms. Julia Subotska, project assistant. I thank you for your attention and hand over to Alexander Malejev and wish you to enjoy this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Radim. Before introducing our speaker, Mr. Hodgson, I would just make a few additional remarks on this webinar. We have had this idea of organizing such webinars already a while ago, but never managed due to all the live events that we had to organize. So now through the coronavirus, we are all in a home office and we were forced to finally implement what we had in mind. We also plan to have online meetings between states and also online trainings in the future, but this is our first webinar and we hope that it will work out both technically with the interpretation and with the remote access of almost 100 people. Glenn Hodgson is the author of a recently published policy brief, which is accessible on our website. The policy brief is on intercorporate transferees. And we asked Glenn initially to present his paper, but following the coronavirus outbreak, we asked him to widen the scope of his presentation and react to the ongoing developments. So in this sense, I would like to thank him for his flexibility. Glenn has a background in politics and administrative studies. He graduated at the College of Europe in Bruges. He's from Sweden and has over 20 years of professional experience in communications, in business development, and as a policy specialist. His main expertise is in the energy, transport, and technology sectors, but through his excellent understanding of the EU institutions and directives, Glenn is a sort of all-rounder who does not shy away from addressing migration issues as well, especially at EU level. Glenn is an excellent writer and speaker, but also very creative and innovative. So we are very happy to have him as our speaker during this first webinar. He has also rich expertise throughout the Prague process region, both in public institutions and the private sector. With this being said, I would like to pass the floor to our speaker, who plans to speak for around half an hour, and after that we will address your questions. Thank you and enjoy. Glenn, floor is yours.
Well, many thanks indeed for those kind words, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. I'm delighted to be presenting here today on the first webinar, where I'll be speaking about the need for high-skilled labor in response to the COVID-19 crisis. This will allow us to look at the current situation and particularly the drivers for change as we exit the crisis. I will not focus too long on the intra-corporate transferee directive, but instead quickly move on to the present situation and the future impact. The idea is to frame this whole webinar as a reaction to the COVID-19 crisis and the fact that the ongoing swift digitalization and industrial change across Europe will require high qualified third country nationals to support industries. Just to be clear on definitions, the directive on intra-corporate transferees was adopted in 2014, and this covers employees working for a company established outside the European Union who is transferred to a branch of the same company in the European Union. And it was adopted in order to address a shortfall in labor, given the clear shortages in sectors like computer programming and engineering.